John Steinbeck's The Pearl, 1947, often regarded as a novella or a modern parable, is a haunting, deceptively simple tale about the destructive power of sudden wealth and unchecked desire. Based on a Mexican folk story, the narrative is set in La Paz, Mexico, exploring the lives of a poor indigenous community dominated by colonial forces and economic exploitation. The story centers on the pearl diver, Kino, and his wife, Juana, whose lives are violently shattered by the discovery of a perfect, colossal pearl. This treasure, initially a symbol of hope and freedom, quickly transforms into an agent of greed, violence, and despair. Steinbeck uses stark, powerful prose and rich symbolism, such as the Song of the Family versus the Song of Evil, to illustrate the corrupting influence of materialism and the tragic failure of the American dream in a world built on profound social and racial inequality. The Song of the Family, Innocence, and the Scorpion. The story begins by establishing the quiet, rhythmic existence of the protagonist, Kino, his wife, Juana, and their infant son, Coyotito. Their life is one of deep poverty, lived in a simple brush house on the outskirts of La Paz, but it is characterized by profound harmony and contentment. Kino perceives his world through a soundtrack of instinctual internal melodies, dominated by the Song of the Family, a melody representing the warmth, security, and stability of their existence. This song is the essence of their innocence. Their morning ritual is a picture of simple beauty. Juana preparing the food, Kino watching her, and the baby Coyotito resting. This natural order is violently disrupted when a scorpion descends from the rafters and stings Coyotito on the shoulder. The sting is a catastrophic event, symbolizing the intrusion of raw, existential evil into their peaceful world. Juana immediately tries to suck the poison out, but they know the danger is severe. Their only hope is the doctor in the nearby town, a symbol of the oppressive, wealthy, and racially prejudiced society that controls their lives. Kino and Juana, accompanied by their neighbors, walk to the town doctor's luxurious stone house. The doctor, a gluttonous man of Spanish descent, is immediately informed that the patient is a poor Indian. He arrogantly refuses to treat Coyotito, sneering that he does not cure insect bites for little Indians unless they can pay. When Kino offers the only currency he has, a handful of small, worthless pearls, the doctor slams the gate. The doctor's cruelty highlights the impenetrable wall of class and race that separates Kino's people from any chance at a better life, sparking a deep, justifiable rage in Kino. The Pearl of the World, Hope and the Dawn of Greed. Desperate and driven by the life-or-death need to find money, Juana decides they must rely on the one thing they possess: Kino's skill as a pearl diver. She prays to all the Christian and pagan gods for him to find a pearl large enough to pay the doctor. Kino takes his ancient canoe, a treasured, essential heirloom that represents his connection to his heritage, and dives into the Gulf. He searches diligently until he discovers a massive, isolated oyster. Upon returning to the canoe, the family and neighbors gather around as he opens it last, reserving it for a moment of drama. Inside is a pearl of unbelievable size and perfection, so large that it is compared to a seagull's egg and perfect as the moon. Kino names it the Pearl of the World. In this initial miraculous moment, the pearl is a radiant symbol of divine providence and the opportunity for liberation. The news of the pearl spreads through La Paz like the poison of the scorpion. The entire town suddenly becomes obsessed with Kino's fortune. The change is instant and terrifying. The priest immediately thinks of the church's potential repairs. The doctor, upon hearing the news, rushes to Kino's house under the pretense of treating Coyotito. He deceitfully administers a worthless powder, convincing Kino the baby is getting worse, hoping to steal the pearl or secure a massive payment. The pearl buyers begin conspiring to offer the lowest possible price, determined to maintain the exploitative economic system that keeps the indigenous divers poor. Kino, meanwhile, is consumed by his dreams for the pearl's wealth. He envisions marrying Juana in a proper church, buying new clothes, getting a rifle, a symbol of power and defense against oppression, and, most critically, educating Coyotito. The pearl is his key to breaking the cycle of poverty and achieving true equality for his son. As the chapter ends, the song of the family begins to mix and compete with a new, dark, and dangerous melody, the Song of Evil. The corruption begins, attack and escalation. As the community's envy turns to malice, Kino becomes increasingly paranoid and possessive. The pearl, which he guards by sleeping with it buried under his mat, begins to exert its corrupting influence on his very nature. The Song of Evil grows louder. That night, Kino is violently attacked by an unseen intruder attempting to steal the pearl. He fights off the assailant in the darkness, leaving him bloodied and bruised. This attack forces Kino to acknowledge that the pearl has not brought luck, but danger, transforming him from a peaceful man into a desperate guardian. Juana is the first to recognize the truth. The pearl is a force of pure destruction. She pleads with Kino to throw it back into the sea before it ruins their souls and kills them. Kino, however, is now completely enslaved by his dreams and the overwhelming potential of the wealth. He refuses, vehemently arguing that the pearl represents their only chance at a free life. The next morning, Kino and Juana head to town to sell the pearl. His brother, Juan Tomas, warns him to be careful, knowing the pearl buyers are unified in their deceit. The selling process is a devastating exercise in colonial exploitation. Kino, determined to get a fair price, insists on selling to all 4 major pearl dealers in town. Unbeknownst to him, they have all agreed beforehand to undervalue the pearl. Each dealer, employing different tactics, feigned pity, dismissal, or exaggerated doubt about its purity, offers only a ridiculously low bid. The highest is 1,500 pesos. Kino, knowing the pearl is worth 50,000 pesos, is infuriated. He refuses the offers, declaring, "I will not be cheated." He makes the impulsive, radical decision to bypass the local exploiters and take the pearl to the capital city to sell it himself. This act of defiance elevates the conflict from a simple dispute to an existential struggle against the entire oppressive system. The loss of humanity, defiance, and the murder. Kino's decision to defy the system marks his final break from the safety of his community and his own ethical framework. The struggle to keep the pearl accelerates his descent into a primal animalistic state. That night, Juana attempts to save their family by taking matters into her own hands. She slips out of the house in the darkness, determined to throw the pearl back into the sea. Kino follows her, consumed by a rage that has replaced his love. He violently tackles her, strips the pearl from her hand, and brutally beats her, leaving her crumpled on the beach. This act is the ultimate corruption. The pearl has made him violent toward the one person who loves him unconditionally, effectively killing the song of the family. As Kino stumbles back to the brush house, he is accosted by a group of nameless assailants intent on stealing the pearl. A fierce, desperate fight ensues in the darkness. Kino kills one of the men with his knife, marking him as a murderer. When Juana returns from the beach, she finds the pearl, which Kino dropped during the struggle, and returns it to him. She sees Kino's dead body on the ground nearby and immediately insists they must flee. Kino's moral and domestic world is utterly ruined. His canoe is destroyed, his brush house is set on fire, presumably by the doctor or the attackers, and he is now a fugitive wanted for murder. The couple, accompanied by Coyotito, decides to abandon the ruined town and flee north toward the capital, determined to keep the pearl, which is now their only hope and their only burden. They are no longer seeking riches. They are simply running from death and the consequences of their discovery. The wilderness and the trackers, the flight. Kino, Juana, and Coyotito flee into the wilderness, forced to travel by night to avoid detection. They are now completely cut off from the human world and must rely on Kino's animal instinct for survival. The Song of Evil is the only melody he hears, sharpening his senses but erasing his humanity. They are relentless in their flight, but Kino realizes they are being followed. He detects 3 trackers, 2 men on foot and 1 man on horseback carrying a rifle. These trackers symbolize the relentless, predatory nature of the outside world, a force of vengeance and greed that cannot be outrun. Kino is forced to abandon the open, flat land for the rugged, arid mountains, seeking the cover of the brush and the caves. Their journey becomes a struggle against nature itself. Thirst, fatigue, and the need to silence the cries of Coyotito, which could betray their location. Juana, always the stronger survivor, refuses to be left behind, maintaining a grim determination that matches Kino's. As the pursuit intensifies, Kino is forced to make a desperate plan. He knows he cannot outrun the trackers, who will eventually find them at the water source. He decides that the only way to survive is to fight them at night. He leaves Juana and Coyotito hidden in a cave, and stripping himself naked to camouflage with the shadows, he begins his final, primal maneuver. Kino, now moving like an animal, scales the mountainside toward the trackers' camp, determined to use his wits and knife against their rifle and numbers. The final silence, loss, and the return. Kino successfully reaches the trackers' campsite hidden high on the mountain. He watches them settle down for the night, waiting for the perfect moment. His intent is clear: to kill them all and secure the pearl's safety. In a terrifying moment, as Kino prepares his attack, a cry cuts through the night, the cry of Coyotito. The baby's cry, though faint, is mistaken by one of the trackers for the cry of a coyote. The tracker, aiming his rifle toward the sound, fires. Kino, attacking instantly, leaps from the shadows and kills the 3 trackers with brutal efficiency, using his knife and the tracker's own rifle. However, the victory is meaningless. When he rushes back to the cave, he finds Juana, weeping, holding a bundle. The baby, Coyotito, is dead, killed by the stray bullet fired by the tracker. The final, fatal price of the pearl has been paid. The dreams of wealth, education, and escape are crushed under the weight of this unbearable loss. The pearl, which was meant to buy their son a future, has taken his life instead. Kino and Juana begin the long, silent walk back to La Paz. They walk side by side, no longer a part of the simple, joyful song of the family, but figures of immense tragic gravity. Juana carries their dead son, and Kino carries the great pearl and the fatal rifle. They arrive back in the village at dusk, their silence conveying the horror of their journey. Kino walks down to the shore with Juana, stopping at the edge of the water. He looks at the pearl for the last time. It no longer shines with beautiful promise. It is gray, malignant, and hideous. Kino realizes that the pearl is not a gift from God or a path to freedom. It is pure, concentrated evil. In the final, definitive act of the novella, Kino throws the pearl of the world, with all his strength, back into the sea, returning the evil to the indifferent ocean from which it came. The final silence falls upon them, a silence of loss and the profound emptiness that remains when hope is corrupted by greed.